Despite the 2 weeks ultimatum given by President Muhammadu Buhari for the Ministry of Education to resolve the knotty issues with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, the union says it is not in a hurry to call off the 5-month strike. Professor Asuu Akinwole, who is the chairman, Asuu, University of Ibadan chapter, says only the signing and implementation of a renegotiated 2009 agreement will end the over 5-month-old strike. According to him, Asuu members have sacrificed to salvage university education in the country, stating that the federal government owed their members over 9-year allowances. Akinwole says Nigerian universities will not stop witnessing strikes until responsible and responsive people are in government.
Well, let's now go over to Ibadan, where the chairman of Asuu, University of Ibadan chapter, Professor Asuu Akinwole, is standing by to join us. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us tonight on the program. And of course, let's have a conversation. From that earlier statement we read, you said only signing can actually see an end to the strike. But I do know that there is a nationwide protest that is planned for Tuesday and Wednesday, Asuu in collaboration with the Nigerian Labour Congress. But the question Nigerians are asking is, how far-reaching will that protest be in terms of getting what your demands are, so that way you can go back to the classrooms?
Thank you very much. The protest planned by the Nigerian Labour Congress on Tuesday is the purview of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Yes, the protest is planned in solidarity with the ongoing Asuu strike. It has shown that Nigerians are beginning to realize that the struggle Asuu is presently on is not about Asuu or the university system alone, but it's about the survival of the country as a nation. A nation that we want is where leaders listen and are responsive to the yearnings of the people. But what we presently have is the opposite, where leaders are almost disconnected from the reality of things. So that protest, we hope, will press home the importance of having leaders that will listen to the yearnings of his people.
All right, Prof. When you look at the indices of Asuu strike actions, whether from the first strike action about 1992 or thereabout, or between 1999 during this democratic dispensation, we're talking of students having lost 4 to 7 years of, academic ventures or adventure in the universities. How does this help to rate the Nigerian academic and its graduates?
But it's quite unfortunate we, as a nation, have been able with leaders that will force academics to go on strike. In normal times, when notice of an impending impasse in the university sectors are given, you expect leaders that are proactive to nip the problem in the bud in order to avert the strike. But over the years, we find out that the last resort that normally allows government to listen to its workers has been strike. Quite unfortunate, but that is what we are bogged down with as a nation. But the alternative is very scary. Scary in the sense that the alternative of Asuu not doing what we have been doing over the years, struggling for the survival of the university system, is that there will be no public universities for children of the downtrodden to attend. In essence, we'll have the cycle of poverty, cycle of illiteracy increasing cumulatively over the years. So, in one angle, it is unfortunate we are always been forced to go on strike as the last resort for government to listen to our demands. But if you look at it on the other side, most of the little improvement you have seen over the last 20, 25 years have always been product of the struggle of Asuu. So when you have a government that will need to be reminded to be alive to their responsibility, that is what we are bogged down with as a nation. But we hope in the nearest future, in no distant time, all this will be a thing of the past. That will have people in government that will listen, that will implement and respect their own agreement, that will respect the rule of law, that will respect agreements signed by labor unions, and that will not allow our universities or educational sector, as it were, to be bogged down and delayed with strike, incessant as it has been currently.
Quite incessant, like you have called it, because if I recall, the very first Asuu strike happened about some 36 years ago, precisely in 1986. And some would argue and say, these strikes, how far-reaching have they been? Because let's not forget, students have been at home for the past 5 months now. And as it stands, even with the government giving an ultimatum, your union is still bent on continuing with the strike, and parents especially are asking, are there no any other alternatives to strike actions? Because the government is saying, we are talking to you, why not go to the classrooms, continue teaching, then we'll find a way out.
Well, if the truth must be told, what has been happening in the last 5 months is government functionaries showing bravado and trying to push their power in the public domain. But let Nigerians be reminded that the 2 weeks ultimatum, if it was ever given anyway, was not given to us. If the presidency is not in any way in a position to give us ultimatum, we are an autonomous union, a union that weighs pros and cons before taking decisions. If the ministers will listen to the directive given to the president, to them by the president, perhaps something will move. But the last 5 months have been motion without movement, as far as we are concerned, because all we have had are talk and talk and talk, but nothing concrete has been done. Even where things do not need monetary disbursement, government has done nothing. Remember, around the end of February, the Minister of Education came out to say a committee has been set up to bring out the visitation panel report, the white paper report from the visitation panel. He gave them 3 weeks. From the end of February up till now, you may want to ask the Minister of Education whether the 3 weeks ultimatum he gave to that committee has not lapsed. So, as far as concrete implementation of what needs to be done in order to reverse the rot in the Nigerian system is concerned, what we have heard from the government side has been all motion without a single inch of movement.
Well, that even what the strike is already causing Nigerian parents and even the students who don't seem to be in sync with your action. I'm talking about the National Association of Nigerian Students. Once they've planned a nationwide strike, action against your continued strike, their own continuous stay at home. It's not providing or creating any productivity. And the question will be again, why is Asuu unbending?
Like I said earlier, the alternative will be that there will be no universities for Nigerian students to attend. I'm talking of public university. Well, it depends on what group or categories of students you are talking about. Students that have taken time to understand why this strike is on will not do anything against the strike. Rather, they will do things that will compel government to obey its own law, that will compel government to listen and fulfill agreement reached after a collective bargaining session with the union. Well, to say parents are not in sync with us, that I may not want to agree with that, because our members, we as members of Asuu, we are also parents. As I speak with you, 2 of my children are at home. I am also a parent. I have children in public university that are also at home now. Asuu members are also students running postgraduate studies in Nigerian public university. So we are totally involved. It affects us, but like I said, the alternative of being nothing will be we have a worse scenario where we will not have a public university system that we can even rise up to say we can showcase to anybody.
Well, you're still talking about the federal government sponsoring education. What other alternatives aside from the government really is the question that we're all asking, because we need to find a lasting solution. But we'd have to say thank you so much to you, Professor Ayo, from the University
Professor Akinwole,
Chairman of Asuu.
University of Ibadan chapter. Thanks very much for joining us on Newsnight, Prof.